So what's the mechanism of injury for patellofemoral pain syndrome? Okay. So I want you guys to understand that these are my own theories based on what the literature is showing in sports injuries, right? Largely, patellofemoral pain syndrome is described as an overuse syndrome, okay? And there's this idea of an envelope of function. This was developed by a guy by the name of Scott Dye, who's a pioneer in the patellofemoral world. And he described this idea of an envelope of function. So basically, your knee has a certain capacity. And if you're training or whatever you're doing on a regular basis, it exceeds the capacity of the knee joint, this could lead to patellofemoral pain. Okay. And this fits really nicely into this idea of overuse. Okay. So if you have too much total training volume, let's say if you're squatting 13 times per week, all right, it might just be too darn much. And that's the reason why you get patellofemoral pain, right? We exceed the body's capacity to handle the stress and it breaks down. Okay. The other piece could lead to injury is a spike in training volume. So let's say you're used to squatting 1 to 2 times a week, and all of a sudden you decide to squat 4 times a week. Your body's simply not used to it, and you're likely to develop some patellofemoral pain. Okay. Some other factors that may affect overuse are your ability to recover. All right. So if you're not recovering well from your training, which is going to be having good sleep, good nutrition, and also having minimal stress, that may increase your likelihood of getting hurt. We also know psychological profiles can relate to injury. So if I am a person who has perfectionistic tendencies, okay, that could increase my likelihood of getting an injury. If I have had a prior injury in my knee, so if I've had patellofemoral pain in the past, I'm more likely to get it in the future. And lastly, if I've had a lesser injury, okay, so if my knee was a little irritated and I decide to push through that pain, it's likely that I may develop more pain in the future, right? So here's the thing. I'm not going to go in depth on these potential mechanisms. Again, these are theoretical. There's a lot of research I do cite that will point towards these being some reasons why you may get hurt, especially in the gym. However, I actually have an entire mini course that's going to help you understand all these true mechanisms of injury. And one of the lectures in the mini course is called 7 Reasons Why Athletes Get Hurt in the Gym and What to Do About It. I'll leave a link in the show notes, so you can definitely check that out if you'd like to learn more. So another mechanism of injury you'll find in our medical literature is going to be some biomechanical issues related to patellofemoral pain. So the biggest one is going to be dynamic valgus, or basically knee in when you squat. Okay, so if I go into the bottom of the squat, and I'm coming out of the hole and my knee comes in, that's called dynamic valgus. So when I'm getting knee in, what's happening is that my femur is moving medially, okay, and the kneecap is going to either be staying in place or moving laterally. And what happens is that we get forces more towards the outside or lateral side of the joint, okay? So we're not evenly dissipating forces within the patellofemoral joint as much as if we had the knee over top of the toe and we weren't in valgus, okay? And this can occur during squats, lunges, Olympic lifts, single leg jumps, and landings. So if I'm getting a lot of valgus during my tasks, I may be getting a lot of increased stress towards the lateral side of the joint. And if I don't have the capacity within the knee to handle those forces, I may end up with a little bit of pain, okay? Now, if you want me to go in depth on the biomechanical reasons for valgus within the body, you can click on the link in the show notes that says Complete Guide to Patellofemoral Pain, and I'll just walk you through this A to Z. Okay, there's a ton of information there. Okay, the second biomechanical factor that can lead to patellofemoral pain syndrome is going to be moment arms or quad dominance, as it's often called. So on the far left, I have a picture of someone, it's me, doing a barbell back squat to a box, and I'm really sitting back. And when I sit back really far in a squat, it's going to increase stress on the hips and spine, and it's going to decrease stress on the knee. And this is because I create a really large moment arm for the hip, and I make a really small moment arm for the knee. So if I constantly squat with my hips really far back, I'm going to decrease stress on the patellofemoral joint, a little less likely to drive some irritation there just because I'm decreasing the amount of stress there. Keep in mind, patellofemoral pain largely an overuse issue. If I'm not using it that much, then maybe I don't irritate it. Okay. On the far right, there's a picture of me doing a goblet squat with a big old heel lift. Okay. The difference between this and a box squat is that my knees come really far forward, and you can see that I've created a large moment arm for the knee. The moment arm for the hip got a lot smaller. So now the knee joint, the patellofemoral joint, is going to contribute a lot more in order to, the quad muscle is going to contribute a lot more to produce force to get out of the hole of the squat. And because of that, the patellofemoral joint just takes more stress. Okay. So here's the thing. This is not a lecture series on biomechanics or exercise prescription for the knee joint. However, I've actually made this entire lecture series. Okay. I mean, entire lecture series on exercise prescription and dosage for knee pain. We go over patellofemoral pain. We go over patellar tendinopathy. We go over quad tendinopathy. I go over stressing the tibiofemoral joint for meniscus pathology and cartilage, etc. Okay. So if you want to learn more about that, I have an entire lecture series. It's inside of Fitness Pain for Insiders. I'll leave a link in the show notes. It's just $1 for a week trial. Go download it. If you want to cancel the subscription right afterwards, you're welcome to. All right. You won't hurt my feelings. Okay. But suffice to say, I don't want to go in depth in this lecture series.